I want to first say thank you for listening to The Professional Edge. I know you have other things that you can listen to, but I think that the value that we bring to our listeners for things which a lot of people need some direction on, but they don't really know who to turn to. Well, this is what I call education over the airwaves. So again, thanks for listening to The Professional Edge. My name's Sean Todd, tax attorney, CPA, certified financial planner, and a Hoosier. Epic season there for those Indiana Hoosiers. Like the coach said, it's going to be an amazing movie. So this session, we are talking about cats and dogs. What do I mean by cats and dogs? Things that are outlined that you sort of need to address, but you haven't really put any attention to. And you know what? It lingers on. And it's just sort of out there, sort of like that old 401k that you left your employer 10 years ago. And it's out there. You know it's there, but you haven't really looked at it. And you know who I'm talking to. So that was in session 1 that we talked about getting things consolidated so they actually are integrated together so you understand exactly where your portfolio is allocated, what your investments are in, and what best to do with those. Does it make sense to do a Roth conversion? That's one thing that a lot of clients ask us. Should I make a Roth conversion now? I'm currently employed. I have X dollars in my IRA account. Should I contribute to my Roth account? Or should I max out my 401k account? These are cats and dogs that actually, if you address them, have a plan for them and put some numbers on paper, then you get to actually make a better decision with regard to your finances. So again, if you're that person that has multiple accounts, you've never really looked at it, you don't really know exactly what your portfolio looks like or the rate of return on your overall portfolio, because you look at one account and say, oh, that one's up 9%, and then you look at the other one, that one's down 4%, and you sort of in your mind meld the two together and say, I got a positive rate of return of 6%. That's not good financial planning. What you need to do is, if one account is bigger, the one that is minus 4%, our example, then you definitely are not that 6%. It's weighted differently. So again, if you have these accounts everywhere, it's not at one custodian, and you don't have an overall financial plan, then this is the impetus to give our office a call at 404-250-9798. That number again, 404-250-9798. First one's on the house. We can set up a Zoom meeting, or if you want to test your driving skills, we can meet up here in Atlanta or at the second office down in Columbus there at the Cunningham Center. Great opportunity to get together to get some of these cats and dogs addressed and move you forward for that safe and secure retirement. So what's another cat and dog that we come across in my practice? Been doing this north of 25 years. We have helped thousands of individuals properly plan their estate. And when they come in, we look and we have them bring in the deeds to their properties. You say, wait a minute, I don't even know where my deed is. Well, that's a wake-up call. Let's take a look at that deed and pull it and see exactly who is on the title to that property. Because when you actually get the deed, then we know for certain who is on that title and how it is titled. So a lot of times clients come in, if they don't have the deed, they're like, well, I think it's in joint names. No, remember we refinanced that and we had to put it over in his name because he was employed. She was a stay-at-home spouse. So the bank wanted it put in his name for him doing the mortgage, and that's where it is. Well, okay, now when he passes away, then he controls 100% of the distribution of that house via his will or other estate planning document. So the spouse, the wife in this case, has no interest in that property whatsoever. So that's neither good nor bad. It's just, okay, how do we deal with this and how do we want to have this going forward? If we want to keep the house out of probate, one, we could A, transfer that deed into a revocable living trust for the benefit of the husband, or we can actually update the title to that property as joint tenant with right of survivorship. And just because it's husband and wife's name on the deed does not mean that it's joint tenant with right of survivorship. There's not a default. It says that husband owns 1/2 undivided interest and the wife owns 1/2 undivided interest. So the husband, if he said, hey, this is a second marriage, and he says, I'm going to leave my stuff to my kids, guess what? He just left 1/2 of the house to his kids because the title says he owns a 1/2 undivided interest. Therefore, his will or estate planning document controls what his property interest goes to. It's not assumed that it goes to the joint account holder on that deed. So if you're not certain on that, on who owns what property and how it is actually titled, if it's just Bill and Jane Smith, that's not default to tenants with, joint tenants with right of survivorship. It's a tenants in common, which says an undivided 1/2 interest in that property, and therefore the estate planning document will control. It's not a act of law, meaning the title on that property supersedes. So let's make sure that we understand who is going to receive that homestead or other property or rental property when the person passes away. Yes, we all are going to pass away. We all are going to need some sort of estate plan in force, in place. So we would rather be proactive, making sure that the house, you think it's in joint tenant right of survivorship. Well, if it's not, we look at the deed, we can determine it with our own eyes. And if it's not, then we can prepare a new deed and make it joint tenant right of survivorship. So that means if someone passes away, one of those joint tenants, then it automatically passes by law to the surviving tenant. And you say, okay, that's one way to avoid probate court. Absolutely, 100%. Can we also name one of the children on that deed as joint tenant right of survivorship? So it's husband, wife, and the only child. The answer is yes, we can do that easily. So if mom and dad pass away in that common automobile accident, boom, the surviving child receives that. But hang on, there's some additional planning that needs to be provided for. Being a tax attorney and a CPA, well, that property is not going to get a full step up in basis to fair market value date of death. So the surviving child may have to pay some unnecessary capital gains tax. So this is why this works together, being a tax attorney, a CPA, and a certified financial planner. So we don't have these cats and dogs sort of biting you on the way through as we plan accordingly. The what if scenario, what if dad passes away? Well, then mom and the child will be the surviving tenants. We avoid probate. That's fine. Perfect. But when mom passes, then what happens to that property going down to that surviving child? And what is that surviving child going to do? Are they going to sell it? They usually say, no, we're going to keep it. But just in case they do sell it, don't we want to minimize the tax exposure to that surviving child? The answer is yes. We don't like overpaying the IRS. So if this is a scenario that you have going on, you don't know who the title is on for the real estate that you own, do give our office a call at 404-250-9798. That number again, 404-250-9798. We corral all these cats and dogs, and then we form that plan and say, okay, what makes the most financial sense, estate planning sense, and tax sense when we address these different matters. So putting that all together, we have put together for our listeners here on the Professional Edge what I call the bundle. It is to get your taxes, your financial, and your estate plan coordinated so it works together in symmetry. So to get more details on that, the website is EMC, that is Echo Mary Charlie, thebundle.com. Echo Mary Charlie, thebundle.com. Or if If you want to start a conversation, first one's on the house. That number is 404-250-9798. That number again, 404-250-9798. So that's another cat and dog who has title on that real property inside your estate or inside your current investment portfolio. So what's another cat and dog that we need to look at? Well, that's your life insurance. What do I mean by that? Well, you may have that policy that's a death benefit. It's a whole life policy. You've been paying on it for years and years and years and years. And the death benefit is, let's say, $100,000. And you have cash value of, let's say, $45,000 or $50,000 built up in there. Well, what's going to be the death benefit? Some people say, well, there's $50,000 cash value and the death benefit is $100K. Well, let's look at the policy and see exactly what the death benefit is going to be. It is not likely going to be the $100K and the $50K of cash value. They are only going to give a death benefit of $100K. So you think the insurance company is on the hook for $100,000 death benefit. Well, not really, because the insurance company is only going to hand you a check for $100K. You have $50 of your own money there. Yes, that's what cash value is. That is actually your money to withdraw from that policy or borrow against, whichever way you want to do it. So the life insurance company is only on the hook for actually 100 minus 50. They're only on the hook for 50. Think about that for a second. So you as a listener here on the Professional Edge, you're getting these statements, you've been paying these monthly premiums or annual premiums on this permanent life insurance. Well, number one, you got to evaluate whether you continue to have that need for the life insurance. That's question number one. And number two, what's the rate of return on the cash value within that policy? That's number two. Number three, what makes the most financial sense going forward? Those are the conversations we have. These are cats and dogs that people have that we address at estate management counselors. If you want to have that conversation, give our office a call at 404-250-9798. That number again, 404-250-9798. My name's Sean Todd, tax attorney, CPA, certified financial planner, host here on the Professional Edge. I appreciate you listening.
With today's financial markets, are you getting the personal and professional attention you and your money deserve? Clients of estate management counselors benefit from having one set of professionals advise them on their tax, estate planning, and investment advice. We call that the Professional Edge. Sean Todd is a tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. With over 15 years' experience, he welcomes the opportunity to assist you in preparing for retirement, implement effective tax planning strategies, and to help you properly plan your estate. His radio show, The Professional Edge, is aired weekly on Sundays at 9 a.m. If you're interested in meeting with Sean, call his office at 877-654-9798. That's 877-654-9798. Do you want to feel more confident about making the right investment, tax, and estate planning decisions? Today, these decisions are more complex than ever. Have you thought about working with a professional advisor and not sure who to turn to? Not sure what qualifies one to be an advisor? Sean Todd is more than qualified as a tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. Sean is with Estate Management Counselors. Estate Management Counselors operates as an independent fee-only investment advisory firm. They're dedicated to gaining a personal understanding of their clients' objectives and implementing professional counsel and advice to achieve those objectives. So take a second to talk with Sean Todd to learn how you can benefit from their multidisciplinary practice where they coordinate their clients' legal, tax, and investment strategies into one comprehensive and integrated plan to enhance and protect their clients' financial security. You can reach Estate Management Counselors and speak with Sean Todd by calling 1-877-654-9798. That's 1-877-654-9798.